Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I am filming this the day after finishing my last reading vlog, which was getting myself out of a reading slump, and it worked. I cannot wait to get off of work and read this afternoon, even though I have so many other things to do. This is the feeling I was looking for, and so this is going to be a mood reading vlog because I'm excited just to keep reading, and I put off Game Changer for until I felt this way. My dog is drinking the cat water. Kelso, your water's upstairs, buddy. Yeah, I got this in the mail a couple of weeks ago and I was so sure I was going to read it first, but then I was like, if I'm in a reading slump and I start reading Game Changer, I'm not going to enjoy it as much as I could if I want to read. And now I want to read. So I started this yesterday. I read the first 2 chapters and then I went to sleep. I am excited to keep going. So just thought I would introduce this, let you know what we're doing this week. It's Thursday, so it feels weird to say this week, but I feel like reading and I'm going to film it. So if you watch my other vlogs, you will know that I finally watched Heated Rivalry like 3 weeks ago now. And I know I'm at the party late. I know that. I don't watch a lot of TV. I was so worried that everyone was talking about the show and I was not going to like it. And I thought maybe I should read the books first. And then I just caved and I watched it. I binged it and I'm obsessed with it. Now I'm excited to read this. I'm also filming another vlog at the same time that will come up before this, and I talked about it a little bit there, but this is one of the first times that I am reading a book after watching the screen adaptation of it, which is rare for me. Usually I read books and I put things off until I'm done reading them. I like the difference here. I like that I am picturing the characters that I already know and love from the TV show instead of reading a book and being like, oh, this is not what I pictured them as, and then not connecting. This is actually kind of fun and a good way to do it. So we're starting with Game Changer. I will continue reading this once I get off work. I'll probably read it over lunch break just to give you a heads up. I also am not sure what to have for lunch today. This is the first day in a long time I don't have leftovers in the fridge. Noodles, probably. I hope this vlog is not just me reading the first 3 books of this. I should stick to my March TBR, which only the first book is on. We'll see if I actually do that, or if this becomes a reading Heated Rivalry vlog. I don't think it will. I think I will follow the TBR. Just reading while I cook some lunch. Am I crazy, or is it wild to use the term puck bunny and then talk about slurs in the same sentence? I know puck bunny's not a slur, but it is pretty like derogatory to women, I think. I hate the term puck bunny. There's implications there that I don't think should be there. Like, why are men free to have sex with them, but then the women are like seen as lesser than for also having sex with the hockey players? I don't know. I'm just reading into it too much, maybe. Hopefully it's not used 10 times, because that is why I didn't like the book Collide. That is one of the reasons. The term puck bunny was used endlessly. Okay, so I got about halfway through Game Changers yesterday, so I feel like it's time for an update. Sorry, I kind of have morning voice. I just realized this is the first time I'm really talking, except for a few sentences to the dogs. Yeah, I'm like halfway through. I think it's difficult for me to read this and not compare it to the show, because this is episode 3 of Heated Rivalry, if you don't know. I think they did a really good job on the TV show with getting this across, but also I'm enjoying the book more for the fact that it is given more time, obviously, because in the show you're like, man, they're moving so fast, and I love that they're honest with each other, but like, holy crap, he met him yesterday. In this, it's more like, holy crap, he's moving so fast, he met him a month ago. You know, it's a little bit more believable, still very fast paced, but a little bit more believable with the timeline. Just like in the show, in the book, I so love Kip and Scott's honesty with one another. I feel like they are very straightforward. They both say what they want. They're both relatively new to relationships, so to have that communication I think is wonderful. I know what's coming, so I'm excited to keep reading. I really love Scott in this. He says what he wants. Like I said, he's so honest, except for obviously to his I was gonna say coworkers, his teammates, but I don't have much to add other than that. I think that there is maybe a little too much sex in this book for me. There were a couple of like fade to black scenes, which I appreciated after it being a lot in a row. But also, like, I understand that that's the nature of the relationship because Scott is kind of starved for attention. He doesn't let himself have anything he wants, and he's finally letting himself, and that's the result. And I think that that makes sense to me in my head. So I am really enjoying it. I'm having fun. It's such an easy, fast read. I really just read after work yesterday until I made dinner. I am at the point where maybe some sad things are going to start happening, but I will give you maybe final thoughts, maybe another check-in. I'm not sure. It depends what happens. This mood reading thing is working for me, and I'm so glad I'm out of my book slump, and I just want to keep going. Excuse the look. It's Saturday. This is what we're dealing with today. I finished Game Changer yesterday, and I really enjoyed it, but it got me thinking, did I enjoy it because I love the TV show and I love Kip and Scott's episode? Maybe. Because I think if I read this book alone, without the TV show, I'm going to try to look at it as though I did. I think that the characters are not fleshed out enough. They don't know enough about each other. We don't know enough about them. I wasn't given a chance to fall in love with either of them in the way that I wanted to, I think. I do appreciate the story for what it was. I appreciate the external things that were added and the extra little plot points. And Maria and Elena were great in this book. And there was a little bit more with Kyle. I don't know what I'm thinking. I did enjoy it. I really did. But I am only giving it 3 stars, which is not low, but it's not as high as it could be either. And I think it would have been a lower rating, honestly, if I had read this before watching the TV show, because I had something to envision and I really loved them in the show. I am giving a little bit of a higher rating than I think I would have otherwise. But that's not to say I'm not excited to keep going. I am. I think I was expecting worse writing based on some comments that I've read, and I didn't hate the writing. I think that it was fine. It wasn't amazing, but it was fine. And I love their story, and I love that Scott's MVP speech is almost identical to what it is in the book. I think that's so fun that they kept that the same because it is a great speech. And the end of this book, the epilogue, super fun. And there are some things that I wish they had done in the TV show that they didn't, mostly with his friends and his teammates. I think that that part maybe could have been added. But other than that, it's pretty good. I also read a comment saying that, because we all know that smoothie was runny as hell in the TV show. I read a comment saying the smoothie wasn't even good, he just went back for Kip. But it doesn't say that anywhere in the book. It doesn't say he didn't actually like it, so that's wrong. I like how often it switched back and forth from character to character, and then it wasn't just separate chapters, but just paragraphs within chapters. I appreciate that, honestly. When it switches perspective mid-chapter, I'm okay with that, as long as it's only 2 perspectives in the book, which it was. So that was really good. Yeah, I think I just wish that they were fleshed out a little bit more and that they got to know each other on a deeper level. But the speed at which they moved, I think, made sense. And maybe there were just parts that we weren't seeing because they were happening out of book, which totally makes sense too. It was fine. It was good. It wasn't great. And Kip also got quite annoying, but then I really started to see his point of view, and I like the way that they both responded to the conflict that they had with each other. I think that that was a very realistic fight that they had in this book, and I didn't dislike it, which sometimes I do when the third act conflict is just fighting, but this was not miscommunication. They were communicating. They just saw things differently, which is totally normal. So I appreciated that too. So 3 stars for the first book in this video. And in the spirit of mood reading, I do want to just keep going, and I'm going to not. So I guess I'm kind of not mood reading, but I am reading a book that I want to read. I'm going to read Demon Copperhead, mostly because it has to go back to the library. This is a library book, and I have a library book waiting for me, so if I drop this off, I'll pick that up at the same time. This was chosen for my February TBR. This is a tiny ass writing. This was chosen for my February TBR. I think the prompt was, I don't know if it was a fairy tale retelling or just a retelling in general, and I don't remember what this is retelling of, but I picked it up in the last week of February and I didn't have time to read it that month, so I just added it to my March TBR. So this has to go back to the library. I want to read it. I'm going to read it. Demon Copperhead is next. I don't know what this is about. I just know that people love it. His name is Demon. Many generations ago, Charles Dickens wrote David Copperfield from his experience as a survivor of institutional poverty and its damages to children in his society. Those problems have yet to be solved in hours. Dickens is not a prerequisite for readers of this novel, but he provided its inspiration. Okay, Demon Copperhead is David Copperfield from Charles Dickens. So just a retelling, not maybe it was a classic retelling. Maybe that was what the prompt was. I don't remember. It was like 2 months ago that I chose it. So I'm going to switch to laundry and then I'm going to read. I made myself a little decaf coffee and that's kind of all that's on the docket for today. Okay, so I'm 2 pages in and I can already tell that the writing's going to be a bit of a challenge for me, but that's okay. I'm going to keep going, but just going from like a basic romance with very obvious writing to something like this is going to take more thought than I expected, I think. But Just my second page thoughts. I just don't know if currently I'm in the mood for that. I wish I could read 2 books at once. I wish I was capable, because then this would be like a, ooh, I'm feeling intellectual book, and I would also just have a fun one on the side. But I can't do that. I'm incapable of that. Anyway, maybe it's an audiobook form. That might be nice. We'll see. Small update about Demon Copperhead. This is Cricket. 10 chapters done, about 80 pages in, and I am reading this really slowly. And I don't mean it's taking me a few days, which it is, but I'm reading like 30 pages an hour, and my average is like 60 pages an hour. And I don't know if it's the small writing, because it is quite a small font, or if it's getting used to the writing style, which I am now. I do appreciate the writing style. I think that it matches the character, and I am enjoying this book, which is difficult to say because everything that can go wrong in this kid's life is going wrong in his life. I don't always want to pick it up because it's quite depressing, and I came from like a feel-good romance to something that is just making me sad, because it is the reality for a lot of kids in the world, not just this one. Sometimes it's nice to stay ignorant to that fact, even though it's good to obviously know what's going on in the world. This boy, and I was like freaking out that his name was Demon. His name is Damon and his nickname is Demon. Everybody in this book has nicknames, which I think is super cool. Is pushed into the foster care system, and he has a really shitty stepdad. Kind of is positive about all of it because he doesn't realize, I think, how bad he has it, but he has it really bad. I was a little bit worried because I read, what is it, The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, which is super highly acclaimed. People love it, and I feel like it started off kind of similar, like kid put in a shitty situation. This book is already worlds better. I am really enjoying it. Here's the thing, because it's taking me so long, and it's a library book, I am going to listen to the audiobook starting today. I'm here to tell you that I've DNF'd Demon Copperhead. I didn't listen to one lick of the audiobook, and I started to read the next chapter after filming that clip. Couldn't do it. So I think it might be a soft DNF. I just felt like this is a good book, but it's going to put me back into a slump if I keep reading, and I literally just got out of one last week. So I refuse. I might come back to it one day. I already brought the book back to the library. I need to read something that's a little bit less depressing right now. That's just where I am. And my mood reading has brought me to China Rich Girlfriend. I read Crazy Rich Asians. I want to say I listened to the audiobook like 2 years ago, maybe more than that. It was definitely more than that. I had a memory from like 4 years ago in my photos the other day, and I think that's when I listened to the audiobook, when I was working in this field where I was trimming trees. Anyway, so it's been a long time, but I have watched the movie, I want to say twice since then, and it's a pretty good depiction of the book, so I'm not going to reread it. I think it's fine. If you've never read or watched Crazy Rich Asians, this will probably have some spoilers because it's a sequel, and I feel like everybody has watched that movie. If you haven't, please do. It's very good. So this takes place, I want to say 2 to 3 years later. Rachel and Nick are about to get married, and she has never known her father. Somebody alludes to who her father might be, as far as I understand. Some knowledge comes out about who he might be. We haven't seen Rachel again yet, or Nick, 30 pages in. We have seen Nick's mom, who it says he hasn't talked to in a couple of years. I'm not sure when we're going to see Rachel. I love Rachel and Nick. I think they're a wonderful couple. I think that this is going to be a fun book. I think I'm just going to rip through it, so I'm excited to keep reading. It is a couple of days later, and we are way overdue for a book update. Honestly, with how much I read yesterday, I probably would have normally updated like 4 or 5 times. Honestly, I read all day. That's how I spent my Sunday. I was very sick and I didn't want to be on camera. I'm still not feeling great, but I worked today. I got ready for work. I'm doing the fake it till you make it thing. Anyway, I finished China Rich Girlfriend yesterday. When did I update? When I was like 60 pages in, 70, something like that. So it's an almost 500 page book. This book took me 3 days to read. The first 2 days, like I said, very little amount. Yesterday a lot. I did also listen to the audiobook yesterday. The problem with being sick is I got very restless, so I puttered and listened to the audiobook. Organized my closet a little bit. I cooked dinner still. I walked the dogs, so I listened to the audiobook for those things because I remembered how much I enjoyed the audiobook of the first book, and I think I enjoy listening to it more than I like reading it. But I did both. It is an easy read either way. There are footnotes, which I'm not crazy about. I don't mind a footnote when it's like, sometimes it's just the translation for the language. I can't even find any of those, but most of them are quite long. So then the narrator's pretty good at changing her voice so that you can tell it's a footnote. So I liked that part. Anyway, I had fun with this book. I think it's a fun book. I would say it's not as focused on Rachel and Nick as I thought it would be. They are probably, if I have to put a number to it, like 40% of the book. I don't even know if they're half of the book. There are a lot of characters though, and their parts are a little bit longer and more in-depth than the other characters. And some of the characters we meet and we hang out with, I'm still curious why. They had no connection really to Nick and Rachel. Some of them did, obviously, but there's a couple. I would say my favorite part of this book is Kitty Pong, and she had no relationship with them in this book. I think maybe they saw her from afar once or something, but her part in this book is so much fun because she's trying to get into this Singaporean, what do you even call it, these groups. She's trying to infiltrate this group and be like them and be viewed as better than she is, as better than they think she is. And so she hires somebody to help her, and those parts are so interesting. I thought that was so much fun. As Rachel meets her father in this book, it's quite early, it's on the back, I'm not ruining anything. As she learns who her father is and meets him, she learns that she has a brother, which actually you learn even earlier than the dad part. And that relationship I really, really, really enjoyed. I kind of wish I got a little bit more of it because this book does go through everybody's POVs. It's not like a chapter per person. It just like as you're in that person's brain, you get their thoughts. And I wish that her brother Carlton had more inner thoughts in this book and more of the narration came from him, because I think that he's a very interesting person, and it seems like there was a switch, but I'm wondering if it was just because people were perceiving him differently than he really was, or if it actually was that way. I'm not sure. I don't even know if that makes sense. Astrid is back in this book. Her parts were pretty good. I got a little bit bored of them for a bit, and there is a part of this book that made me put it down for a little bit, because she is in Italy and she learns that her son is being abused. Like, there's no other way to say it. They kind of downplay it in the description of the abuse, and then she's like, oh, that made me sad. And that really rubbed me the wrong way. Her ex-boyfriend was more angry about this than she was, I feel like. So I'm not crazy about that part. That really just like drew me out of the story. I don't know if I already mentioned it, but reading this book reminded me that the first book and the movie end differently from one another than I thought. So again, if you haven't watched it or read it and you care, skip. But at the end of the first book, Nick's mom does not welcome Rachel into their life. She does not give him her ring to give to her. They have not talked for a couple of years once you start this book. And Astrid and Michael's marriage, or at least what's alluded to at the end of the book and the movie, is different, because in this one they are very much together. But yeah, Kitty Pong being Princess Diary was my favorite part of this book, and I wish we got more of it, and I think there's going to be a little bit more of her in the third one. I am obviously going to read it still. I'm not taking it off my list. I enjoyed this. I'm giving it 3 stars, which is not a bad rating. It just could be better. I haven't read a book lately that I've absolutely loved, and that makes me kind of sad, but also I want to keep reading, so that's good. DNFing Demon Copperhead was the right move. I'm not in a slump. I put that down almost immediately, picked up Cinder and started this book, and I am almost 100 pages in. So I read so much yesterday, and this is about a cyborg.
Yeah, well, feminism, yes, but also the robots.
Cinder is the story of Cinderella, but it's a cyborg who is in the future, for sure, in a world where there is a pandemic. This book came out in 2012, so it's not alluding to our pandemic, but people are being taken away, and she's being taken away because the cyborgs are seen as less than, and they are being used for, what do you call it? They're volunteering. They're not volunteering. There's a draft and some volunteer for testing for a cure for this pandemic. So Cinder is a cyborg who is a very good mechanic. So the book starts actually with the prince of this empire. They're in Beijing, or like future Beijing. So the prince of this empire brings her his little android to fix, and then she's taken away, so she doesn't get a chance to. And that is kind of where I am right now. She's just treated awfully. She's being tested on, and she seems to be an anomaly. She still is a human. She has a robotic leg and arm, and then everybody who is a cyborg, I think, has kind of a control panel, because she can tell when people are lying, and a couple of other things like her mood, and she can like check people's specifics out of her control panel. It's very weird, but I'm kind of digging it. I haven't read a YA in a long time. I'm happy to do it, especially one that was released in 2012. That feels like the right year to be reading a YA from, you know? Almost 4 o'clock. We're gonna walk the dogs first. It is not nice outside. I will hopefully give you an update a little bit better than 400 pages in. Let's talk about Cinder. I'm gonna say some things. These things are, if I was not already more than halfway through, the audiobook wasn't available, and the sequels were the same characters, I would be DNFing. But because of those three things, I'm gonna keep going. I am listening. I started listening to the audiobook yesterday. I think I read like a chapter or two, and I thought I need to just see if this is available because I don't want to read it. I care what happens to the characters. I do like our characters. And I'm trying to justify it by being like, if I read this when it came out in 2012, when I was, oh my goodness, someone just passed with a cute little puppy. If I read this when it came out in 2012, I was probably already too old. But if I read this when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14, I would like it. That's not true. I don't think I would like it. I am kind of confused with why it is so popular. I like the extra stuff. I think it's good because she's a cyborg, and now there are these people who live on the moon who are coming who have magic, for lack of a better term in my head right now, who can sway people and get in their heads and like tell them what to think. It's reading like a Doctor Who episode. I'm really enjoying that part of it. I just think there are so many gaps and there's so many random conversations. I say I like the characters, but there's not much development happening. I'm not sure. I think it's just falling a little bit flat. I'm thinking maybe I don't have any opinions at all either direction. So I'm sitting at like a 2.5 right now in my head because that's just like the halfway mark. There's nothing that I hate about it, but there's nothing that I love about it. I think it's interesting that she's a cyborg. I do think it's weird how derogatory people are towards them, but also I think that about people who are derogatory in our world too, so I get it. Unfortunately, it tracks. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna try to finish this today. That might be difficult. It's 3 o'clock. I need to leave the house in less than 3 hours, but I'm gonna listen now. I'm gonna have a coffee. I bought some cookies and I'm gonna listen while I play Switch. I've gone back to playing Pokemon Sword. I started my game over because of course I want the new Pokemon game on Switch, but it's $100. I was like, new games are $80. What happened? They used to be like 40 or 50 and we thought that was expensive. Now they are $100. I don't understand how it could go up 100% in my lifetime of playing video games. Anyway, so I'm gonna play Pokemon while I listen to the audiobook, and then I'm gonna get my steps in while I continue to listen to the audiobook, and then I'm going out before 6 p.m. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to finish it today. I am listening at 2.2 speed, which is fast for me. That's high. I usually am closer to like the 1.7 times mark, but I'm listening at 2.2. I can't really go much faster. I don't hear anything. I think I could probably read faster than that, but there are things that I want to do instead of reading, so I'm just going to do them at the same time. It says I can listen to this in 2 hours. So I could potentially probably finish it today. Let's just say like this moon reading is not going great, but also I'm not hating any of the books. It's so funny. I'm surprised that none of them have put me in a book slump. I still am excited to finish this so I can start something new. Like I want to keep reading. This just isn't hitting for me. I think maybe I don't like Cinder. Maybe I wish there was more Kai. And we got his perspective randomly like 100 pages in, and now every, I don't know, 5 or so chapters were in his perspective. Cinder just doesn't seem very smart to me. She just like does things on a whim and she can fix stuff. And that's kind of all we know about her. There was some foreshadowing that I thought, oh my goodness, this is so obvious. And then said explicitly like a couple chapters later. So it's not trying to be discreet. So I'm curious if there will be some kind of a twist that is foreshadowed that I missed. That would be really good. I think that would bump it up a little bit. But at this point, it's just kind of there. I very quickly ran out of Spotify audiobook minutes. When's my billing date? Because it goes by that, right? Not by the new month. At least it lets you finish the chapter. March 20th. That's tomorrow. I'm gonna read a bit today, but if I don't finish it, I'll finish the audiobook tomorrow. That is good to know. I think I got to chapter 28. Okay, listened to 4 chapters before that happened. Good stuff's happening. I was just surprised a little bit by something. I also learned that her stepmother's name is Audrey. Based on the audiobook, it's spelled A-D-R-I, so I was saying Adri in my head. I played for, I don't know, 15 minutes, not even. I think I had 1 fight. And now I'm gonna quit and switch to reading. Maybe I'll just move to the treadmill now and read with the book. It's not that big. I hate hardcovers on the treadmill when they're really big, but I think I can get away with this. So I'm gonna move downstairs and do that. Y'all, I just finished Cinder. I did not read at all yesterday. I just decided to listen to the audiobook today, since I had more Spotify minutes, and I just finished it. I'm stopping my work to talk to you because I'm so annoyed. It does continue in a sequel. It ends on a cliffhanger and I don't care. I'm just gonna Google what happens. The reason I thought it didn't is because all the books are on the back and there's like an apple, so like Snow White. There's Fairest, which I guess is also Snow White. Oh, so I'm gonna say the first 3 books are this and the next 3 might be a Snow White thing. So that's my bad. I just saw this and I assumed, and that's what they say. Don't assume, because now I've made an ass of myself and I probably should have DNF'd, which is annoying. I will say it got worse and then it got better. There's this little portion at the ball, which is very Cinderella, and that part was interesting. But like Cinder herself got more dense and there wasn't an extra twist. It was just the initial one. That is not a surprise, obviously, but also someone was trying to find information. I don't know how much to spoil because I don't think the book matters enough. But obviously, I actually don't think it's a bad book. I think it's not for me. The story is interesting. I like how much this traditional fairy tale could be twisted to become something that feels completely new. I appreciate that for what it is. An ally was trying to find information and they have the information and they're not telling this person, and I don't understand why. Yeah. I'm gonna stick to a 2.5. I really don't have much else to say because I just didn't find it that interesting. I wish there was a little bit more backstory because it's mentioned, so I'm wondering if that comes out in the next books. I don't know. Anyway, that's the 3rd and final book this week. I'm glad I didn't have to DNF 2 books. That would have been unfortunate. That's kind of a bummer. That's kind of a bummer. I do like that I feel like reading, that I'm excited to pick up something good. This was just a bit disappointing. But you know what? That's the reality of reading, and everything is subjective. Like I said, I don't think it's a bad book. I think it's just not for me. I don't think it would have ever been for me. I am still thinking like if I read that as a teenager, I still probably would have seen its shortfalls, but maybe I'm wrong. That concludes this video. So thanks for coming. Come back next week for another video. I am starting a reading vlog that I think you will see in a couple of weeks from now. So if you're only interested in the reading vlogs, that's coming too. Anyway, thanks. Bye.